Chapter 5. Worst Birthday Ever. 9:45 a.m. Alex stared out the window of room 15. He had spent all of homeroom and most of first period thinking about the dog. But then his stomach started to growl, and by second period, he has a serious case of cupcake on the brain. His teacher, Mrs. Hamill, had given him a funny look when he handed her the cupcake box that morning. He tried to reassure her that the cupcakes were in a total loss. He figured he could scoop out the mashed remains like snowballs and mold them back into shape. Totally salvageable. They're a little fine, but they taste fine. I tested one to be sure. She looked up at the box like she was considering throwing it away. But all she did was raise an eyebrow and set it on the desk. Now, Alex's stomach grew so noisy that Doug started growling back at it under his breath, which gave Quan the giggles, which goaded Doug to growl even louder, which cracked the rest of the class, but also drew a lot of looks from Miss Hammond, and that was probably a problem because Alex was trying to figure out how he could convince her to let them eat the cupcakes now. Just as Alex was about to raise his hand and ask about the cupcakes, a runner came with a note from Miss Hamill, who stepped out of the room to read it. Alex sighed and lowered his hand. His mind drifted back to Stray Dog. He couldn't explain it. After all, he'd only seen the dog for a few seconds, but when he thought about the dog, he felt the same way. He'd felt when his dad put his hand on his shoulder at the air show, warm and happy and connected. The dog had really gotten under his skin. Alex gazed out the window, half expecting to see a yellow mutt waiting for him outside. Alex? He'd been daydreaming. Mrs. Hamill stood at the front of the room, a note clutched in her hand. Pick up your bag and let's go. Alex looked around, confused. Chairs scraped as the other kids gathered their backpacks and shuffled towards the door. The classroom was already half empty. Did you hear me? You're to pick up your sister from room 4B and go straight to see your mother at work. Now? Yes, now. We're leaving? Yes, we're finishing early today. But what about the box? What box? My cupcakes. Just leave it. But it's my... Alex Douglas, not another word. We'll do another day. Now let's go. The one other time Alex could remember getting sent home early was someone set off a stink bomb last year in the girls' bathroom. The smell was so gross that even the teachers were running outside, staggering around the playground and gasping for air. He heard 6 kids in the class next to the bathroom couldn't even make it to the trash can and puked all over the desks. School was canceled while they aired out the building the next day, but it still smelled like rotten eggs for the entire week. The only person who seemed to think it was hilarious was Jordan. Maybe Jordan was behind this too. Alex sniffed the air, but he couldn't detect any stinky, balmy smell. He looked over at Douglas and Quan. What gives? They shrugged. Mrs. Hamill hurried them out the door. Her face looked bloodless, as gray as fireplace ash. When he tried to catch her eyes, she looked away. He gave one last glance at the box of mangled cupcakes on her desk. They gave up and headed for the next door. Next to the door hung a class calendar. He stared at the words written in the big green letters. Alex's birthday. The date was even circled, September 11th, 2001.